A poor lumberjack couple and their children, Hansel and Gretel, lived by a forest. The family, constantly facing a shortage of bread, became so poor that they were no longer eating anymore.
Hey, go leave Hansel and Gretel in the forest to reduce the number of mouths to feed.
The father hesitated at first, but eventually listened to his wife. Fine. I'll go abandon them deep in the forest tomorrow. Gretel, the younger girl of the two children, overheard the conversation between her parents. After going to the toilet, Gretel returned to the room and shared with her brother Hansel in a hurry.
This is bad, Hansel! Mom's gonna abandon us in the forest tomorrow!
What did you say? Don't cry, Gretel. I'll do something about this.
After gently placing his hand on her right shoulder, he headed for the doorway. And he opened the door quietly and went outside. He went out alone, gathered white and shiny stones into his pockets under the moonlight, and went back to home again. The next day, taken by their parents, the siblings were led into the woods, and to find their way back, Hansel dropped the white stones he had collected last night. When they reached the middle of the forest, the parents said,
We'll come back for you two later.
And left the two children behind. The area became dark as the night arrived. Hansel took his crying sister by the hand and walked through the woods following the shining stone all night. Eventually, in the morning, the two were able to get home.
Hansel! Gretel! Thank goodness.
The four of them were living together again, but when they ran out of bread a second time, the mother said,
Let's take them so far into the forest that they won't be able to come back.
To the father,
Well, I've done it once already,
said the father as he unwillingly agreed. This time, Hansel overheard their conversation. Hansel tried to go gather the stones again, but he couldn't because the door was locked. The next morning, the parents took them into the woods. Instead of the stones, Hansel crushed the bread he was given for lunch in his pocket and left the crumbs behind as a guide. The two were taken by their parents into the deepest part of the forest they had ever been to. Their mother said,
We'll come back for you at night.
And left, but the day went on and no one showed up at night. As the moon rose, Hansel looked for the breadcrumbs that were supposed to lead the way back. But he couldn't find them after thousands of birds in the forest had eaten them. Hansel and Gretel wandered through the woods for 3 days, living off of wild strawberries. Around noon of the third day, the two were still wandering.
Hey, look! What's that?
Whoa! Is this a house made of candy?
In the woods, they found a small house with a roof made of cake, walls made of bread, and windows made of sugar.
It's eatable!
Hansel could also no longer ignore his hunger as he broke off a piece of the chocolate on the roof and ate it. An old woman appeared from inside as they busily ate the house.
Hey! What are you two doing?
Huh? Oh, sorry. We were just really hungry.
Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, come on in.
The old woman took the two surprised children by the hand, invited them into the house, and provided them with a meal and a bed.
Sleep here tonight.
Thank you,
Granny.
Little did they know that the true identity of this old woman was an evil witch who lures, kills, and eats children. In the middle of the night, Gretel heard a rattling sound.
What's that sound?
Gretel got up anxiously. She thought about waking up Hansel, but he was sound asleep. Gretel gently got out of bed alone. She walked slowly towards the direction where the sound was coming from. It led her to the front of a room. She opened the door and found a room that was slightly illuminated by the moonlight. It appeared to be a room for storing things. As her eyes gradually adjusted, Gretel trembled at the sight she saw. Inside, the skeleton bones of many children with bits of human flesh left on them were lined up in an orderly manner. There were roughly over 100 of them.
Ah!
Letting out a shriek, she closed her mouth in a hurry, but it was too late. The witch found her. With a lamp in hand and an eerie smile on her face, the witch asked Gretel, who was trembling.
Oh my! What did you see? I didn't see anything.
Gretel tried to escape, but stumbled over. The witch caught her and broke her right leg.
Ah!
Hansel, woken up by Gretel's scream, came quickly. Seeing Gretel's swollen right foot, Hansel turned deep blue and rushed over to her.
Gretel!
The witch then grabbed Hansel with one hand and dragged him down the corridor to a small livestock barn right next to the candy house. Then she forcibly pushed Hansel inside.
I'll let you out of here once you're nice and fat.
After giving Gretel brief treatments, the witch firmly said,
Listen up, Gretel. I'm gonna eat your brother after fattening him up. So starting tomorrow, you will make the meals for that.
From then on, Hansel was given a good meal almost every day. The witch checked how much fat he had gained daily.
Hey, Hansel, let me see your fingers. I'm gonna check how fat you've gotten.
Yes.
The witch, who had a poor eyesight, tried to check Hansel's fatness by touching his fingers. However, the smart Hansel held out the leftover bones of past meals instead of his own fingers, making the witch wonder why Hansel hadn't gotten fat at all and put off eating him. However, 4 weeks after putting Hansel in the barn, the witch could no longer resist. The next morning, she ordered Gretel,
I'm gonna boil and eat Hansel regardless of how fat he is, so prepare a large pot.
The witch then began preparing an oven to bake some bread. Gretel lamented the destiny that had led her to prepare the pot to boil her brother, and prayed to God that her brother would be relieved from suffering. Just then,
Gretel! Gretel, where are you? Come here!
the witch called Gretel and commanded her,
Gretel, get in the oven to check on the bread for me, since my eyes are no good.
The witch intended to trap Gretel inside and bake her.
Gretel, you mustn't go into the oven. The witch plans to lock you inside and bake you.
Gretel was smart and said to the witch,
Oh, Granny, I don't know how to get in the oven. Can you demonstrate for me? Watch closely.
As soon as the witch entered the oven, Gretel summoned her strength, pushed the witch in, and locked it from the outside.
Ah!
Gretel, who heard a voice, ran away from the kitchen, and the witch burned to death. Gretel rescued Hansel with a key to the barn which had been hung in the witch's room, and they rejoiced. The witch's house had many treasures, and after stuffing as many jewels and pearls as they could into their pockets, they set fire to the candy house.
This house won't be needed anymore, Hansel.
That's right.
Then they set off for home. Their father was very happy to see them return. However, their parents tried to forcibly steal the treasures brought back by them and become rich. Hansel and Gretel were disgusted by their parents' desires and decided to get revenge, pointing out that it was their parents' fault that they were almost killed by the witch. They locked their parents inside the house and set it on fire. The old house burned down, and their parents became nothing but bones. Without ever holding a funeral, the two now live in a new house at the same location. The end.
Thanks for watching. This YouTube channel introduces shocking news from all over the world in the form of comics. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.